Yeah, I can't get my camera to be straight. I don't know why. Maybe my house is crooked or I'm crooked. I don't know. Anyway, this is Roaming Prepper, and I'm going to give you guys a quick Saturday Sitrep. But first, I want to talk about what's going on in the East Coast. I've seen some videos where people are speculating that the orange skies in New York and DC and whatnot are due to ammonium nitrate burning. Actually, ammonium nitrate, and I know this not only because I spent 7 years holding an explosives blasters permit as an engineer, but I then sold explosives for another 3 years in my career. I can actually speak to this with professional background. I also have taken some IED classes with entities that I served with at some point in time, so we'll just leave it at that. Ammonium nitrate, when used as an explosive, will burn white. The good example of that is the Boston bombers, right? The Zarnev brothers actually used ammonium nitrate with a mix of other stuff, which I won't say on YouTube. And if you look at that video, it burns white or blows up white. You get a white cloud. Whereas if you use military explosives, they tend to have more petrochemical in there and they burn black. So just a note. So whenever I've seen white explosions on TV, I'm like, he used an ammonium nitrate mix. Oklahoma City bomber was another one, but they didn't have good cameras back then, so nobody got a real good picture, just the building came down. Anyway, I just wanted to set that one to rest. Now, if it's burned with something else, it could be orange. Ammonium nitrate does not burn on its own. You can't just set fire to it. It must have an oxidizer of some type mixed into it in the right proportion. You can't put too much or too little because it'll just flame out or nothing will happen. So, no, I think what else is being brought up with those Canadian fires and kicked up in the atmosphere and then dropped on the East Coast, that's a bit beyond my knowledge base, but just wanted to set that one to rest. You guys know if I do see something that's a bit off the wall, I'm gonna kind of try to bring it to y'all's attention, because I think it's important that we remember not to freak out over every single thing we hear, because to be honest with you, there's something constantly going on nowadays and it's absolutely exhausting. So what I'm gonna do, I'm going to skip the, hold on a second here, there we go. I'm gonna skip the political stuff. I'm gonna go straight to a few of the weirder highlights for this week. Now they do have two really big farmers markets going on, and I think there's a gun show on top of that. So I expect to spend all day meandering everywhere from like freaking almost to El Paso all the way to Abilene, zipping around Texas to check these places out, because you never know what you're gonna find. So keep an open mind when you go to these places. Anyway, Africa, highlight from Africa, Equatorial Guinea, the WHO, not who are you, the other WHO, WHO, declares end of Marburg virus outbreak in Equatorial Guinea. This is from Yahoo News. The UN's health agency on Thursday declared an end to a nearly 4-month epidemic of Marburg in Equatorial Guinea. It did cause 35 deaths. So the doctors actually pinned it down pretty quick. It's a known disease with a known transmission vector. And like any other agency, if they have some background information, they do a decent job. Now, when it came to Rona, nobody knew what the hell was going on, and the pharmaceuticals wanted to make money, and they clouded everything. So, you know, bravo to them and to the government of Equatorial Guinea. By the way, today's coffee is a double espresso with cinnamon and milk foam. And yes, I can be bougie sometimes. I just don't drink coffee with my pinky out because I'll wear it. Oh, that's yummy. Oh, the cinnamon was a nice taste. And Bentley, what are you doing? Bentley is literally upside down, scooting sideways like, I don't know what he thinks he is. He's trying to get something. Dude, your legs are too short. Go over there. Now he's giving me attitude. Never fails. Any video I do in the kitchen, one of them will come here and start doing weird shit. Ethiopia, UN agency joins US in suspending food aid to Ethiopia after diversions. So get this, the UN World Food Program said Friday they're halting assistance to Ethiopia because there's widespread theft of the donations. Imagine that. The UN and the US and NATO, whoever the hell else is involved, is throwing money at a project in a country that's corrupt, and now they realize, oh, hey, you're not actually feeding your people with what we're sending you. I wonder how many rich Burisma people there are in Ukraine right now. Really rich. I don't know. This whole thing in Eastern Europe is sus. But anyway, I digress. Senegal, Amnesty International is asking for an investigation into the Dakar region because apparently 23 people were killed and nobody knows why. They just went and massacred them. But in that part of the world, there are very bad and old tribal rivalries, and I think that's probably part of the cause. In the Sudan, Khartoum, the capital, still under siege, as now the fighting, the two generals who are fighting, it's now spread across the country. Not only that, now that apparently they have Al-Shabaab going in there and screwing with both sides and pissing them off. So yeah, Sudan declares U.S. envoy Walker persona non grata. The Sudanese government has declared UN envoy Volker Perthes persona non grata. Basically, we don't want your ass here. 2 weeks after the army chief accused him of stoking the civil conflict. Remember a few weeks ago or last month, there were a few of us, including myself, who were like, wow, Sudan suddenly says, oh yeah, Russia will let you build a fleet base in our country, and all of a sudden they have a civil war like 4 weeks later. Well, Sudan is straight up accusing the UN envoy of being part of the problem. See, we're not always wrong. They call people conspiracy theorists and they're like, oh, you're reading too much into this stuff. And then like a month later, stuff comes out. But the sheep don't remember because sheep have short-term memory. So just remember, that's why we're all always frustrated with the people around us. And all right, I'll take my tinfoil hat off now. Anyway, Zimbabwe actually thinks they're going to pull off an election despite the drought. So I hope, good luck for them. I hope they can pull it off. In Burma, a rights group say the Myanmar military rulers have cracked down on lawyers and abused the legal system. Again, you have a one-party system like communism or dictatorship, and the military will abuse the system. Yeah, like none of this is really surprising this week. Indonesia, they just approved the capital budget, not interesting. South Korea vows to support its chip sector amid US-China tension. Now, South Korea and Taiwan, and now the Philippines have become a wild card because China used to say, we're going to not give you chips. Well, all of a sudden, South Korea, the Philippines, Taiwan, and a couple other places said, we can fill that gap. You don't need China. So China may have put themselves in a corner because what if, despite the de-dollarization of the market, what if China actually gets replaced as a chip manufacturer? That would absolutely screw their economy. And at this point, Bentley has now rolled over and is asleep on my left foot, which is why I stopped moving. Dude, really? He's such a weird dog. Peppermint's over here laid out like a dead roach. I don't know what's up with all of them right now. You already ate, didn't you? They're like, I don't know. Anyway, Israel. Police arrest 11 suspects in a mass shooting that claimed the lives of 5. That's from the Times of Israel. Then the Israelis actually fired tear gas into a group of Lebanese protesters, so they're having a lot of instability around the Holy Land, which is interesting, but ancient. So moving on to, oops, hold on a second here, that just went blank. Kazakhstan, jailed Kazakh journalist charged with financing extremism is facing 12 years. So you're seeing a lot of governments in this particular report. They're cracking down on anyone they think is disagreeable. This is Radio Free Europe sharing this one. And what I find interesting is that we have a presidential candidate in our country under indictment again. It's like it never ends with this dude. And granted, some of you may not like him, and that's fine. But we've never seen that before. We've seen where they got caught, you know, like they impeached Clinton because he was caught. He lied about fooling around with interns, right? what's his name, Nixon, got really busted having his people break into Watergate, right? It was just no way around it. But they did something wrong, got caught, and then they were brought to trial, or they were impeached. What we're seeing now is a lot of governments that are currently in power are trying to strike people down before they can become a challenge. And that's concerning, because that's how world orders and dictatorships start. So just my take. But in Pakistan, mass men break down Dawn Staffer's house in Islamabad. So again, another example of a political opponent getting attacked. So Canada, wildfires spread in Canada's British Columbia as Quebec stabilizes. This is from Reuters. A wildfire spread in Western Canada province of British Columbia on Friday, while hundreds of fires continue to burn on either side of the country. And what I find interesting is how the hell did all of Canada catch fire at once? I've never seen that shit, ever. And I watch this stuff. We all watch this stuff. But we all know that during the election 2020, we had a bunch of fires in California, Oregon, Washington State, and then it turns out half of them had evidence, substantial evidence, of human intervention. So what the hell, or human creation. So there was basically arson. So what the hell's going on? I'm not buying this, guys. I'm not at all. I'm not saying it was a deliberate act, but what I'm saying is I would very seriously question anything you hear from official channels on this particular subject. And I'll leave it at that. In Cuba, Pentagon dismisses Wall Street Journal report on China's spy station in Cuba. Apparently China plans to set up an electronic eavesdropping facility in Cuba. Interesting, but not surprising. We're in a Cold War again. We're not only in a recession, we're in a Cold War. So just throwing that out there. Mexico, president puts unity first to broker compromise and succession race. And Mexico still has differences with U.S. on air safety rating. This is more generic geopolitics. Folks, this week's trend, if you hadn't noticed, was a lot of crackdown on dissidents. And not just dissidents who were terrorists. Journalists, lawyers, human rights activists. These are people who are not freaking Al-Qaeda. They're not neo-Nazi. They're not Antifa. And they're getting cracked down. And now you're looking in America at whistleblowers who are afraid to come forward because the FBI literally tells Congress, our department is afraid that if he comes forward, he's going to be killed. But his information is about people in the existing administration. So then it makes you wonder, how did Epstein die? I'm just saying, and I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist, but as an engineer, I look at trends, right? Like I've said before, 1 dot is simply a data point. 2 is a line. You get 5 or 6 all in the same plane, you start looking at what you call a trend. These are trends, guys. We just need to pay attention to them, and we are. And not only are we, I actually think we're moving the needle. I think people are seeing us and going, you got a point. Maybe I need to look deeper. And it may be nothing. But ladies and gentlemen, challenge everything, question everything. Don't go and burn shit down and fight with people. That's not cool. But there's nothing wrong with critical thought against what you're being told. In any case, folks, that was a rather short one today. I'm going to head off to the markets and to the gun show if it's where I think it is. Otherwise, I'm going to have a nice drive to nowhere. You guys be safe, and I will see you next video or next week, depending on how things go this weekend. You guys take care.